Okay.
So Idalina, tell us how did you become interested in the film industry, and of course tell us a little bit about your background in regards to that.
Well, when I was in high school, I went to Etobicoke School of the Arts and I studied drama, musical theater, and I was more into acting at that time. As time went on, I actually became a photographer in my early 20s, and I moved to Europe. And when I was in Paris, I just started becoming more interested in the script writing and directing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I met a man called Charles Weinstein, who was an American director who lives in Paris. And I started learning from him, and I ended up going to his acting classes and acting a bit more, and one thing led to the next. And I went and I lived in London for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was in London, I had an agent. And I was kind of just sick of waiting for my agent to get me jobs, because, you know, being an actor is like you go on 100 auditions and you get like one, job. So a friend of mine and I decided to open our own theater production company. So that's how it all started, and from there it just evolved as a film company.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you become inspired to make this mini doc series, All She Wrote Toronto, and what was the starting point to that?
Well, I've always been interested in graffiti. It's my favorite type of art. I've been photographing graffiti for years, and on my travels I always have photos of graffiti. And back in 2002 I thought, I'd really be interested to find out who the women are in this, in this scene. And as a woman myself, I just wanted to relate more to the art that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing research about women in the scene, and it wasn't until a few years later, when I was living in Portugal, because the scene there is just enormous, that I started to actually film things, and I started to get interviews with women, graffiti writers, and it was amazing because, at first they didn't want to let me into that
Community.
exclusive community. So I had to do some convincing, and some just getting to know everyone there, and I had to actually go through the male writers first.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they're the ones who told me about the female writers. And once I got into the female writers, then it just opened a whole array of women just contacting me, telling me that they wanted to be involved in different countries around the world. And that's how it all started.
Uh-huh.
And then when I came to Toronto, the Toronto scene is also very big, as we can see in the streets. There's a lot of street art, a lot of graffiti. I started to get to know the women here.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that it's a form of escapism for these women as they're doing their graffiti, or but it seems like a lot of these women are established, and then it's really a form of modern art.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny because there's this discussion about graffiti and street art, and there's just a whole different world that goes on behind the scenes as any industry or community. But these women started out, everyone kind of needs to pay their dues in graffiti, and
Mm-hmm.
You start out by doing tags or by doing letters or what have you, and these women evolved into doing their art to connect with their communities,
Right.
instead of trying to vandalize or be against what was going on. They took an art form that is very rebellious, to connect with their community and to make murals and to make giant pieces, so everyone could enjoy. And graffiti's, the way people thought about graffiti in the 70s and 80s and even 90s is not the way people think of graffiti now. Graffiti is like this huge phenomenon that's happening around the world. It's like, you see it in every city you go to, not even a city, a town, you see it everywhere. Toronto's actually wanted to be known as an art city, so they actually try to encourage a lot of graffiti and street artists and muralists to do art on the streets.
Now, after you filmed these female artists in All She Wrote, Toronto, what did you learn most about about them?
Well, it's funny because, you know, I guess you always have a preconceived notion of people, you know, even though sometimes you say, oh, no, I don't. And just think about graffiti, or, you know, what type of person should be doing graffiti or what have you. The thing about these women is that I really, each one of them are so uniquely different, and I relate to each one of them in different ways. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that I really learned a lot, or, you know, what they emphasized within me, was to really just be yourself. And, you know, no matter what's going on, you know, if you have haters, or, you know, people talking about you, or just people hating on your art, or people just, you know, it's the way that you react towards things. Mm-hmm. And these women are just incredibly brave, and I just admire them so much, and I really learned that from them, really.
Mm-hmm. So tell us, making a mini-series doc, you must have learned a lot of stuff from other filmmakers, of course, but tell us, briefly describe your experience of making a miniseries documentary.
Well, it's hard because I never had any formal training. I never, you know, well, I've taken a course here and there, but I really just went out and did it. Mm-hmm. Got my camera, got a camera person. Sometimes I didn't know how to use the camera. I know now. But when I didn't know how to use the camera, I got someone to come with me. And sometimes I prefer someone to come with me anyway, just so I can focus on directing and doing stuff. But I really learned a lot through trial and error. And doing a mini doc series is very difficult in documentary, especially when you're doing multiple subjects. Mm-hmm. When you're doing a documentary about one person, it's so much easier. When you're doing it about multiple subjects, you're kind of at the mercy of their schedule or what they do, and you know, it's just a very big learning experience for any filmmaker. I would recommend it for any filmmaker, whether you're into documentary or not, to really just do like a mini doc or some kind of real documentary type of thing, because it's completely different from a narrative film.
Mm-hmm. So tell us, how do we see All She Wrote Toronto, and tell us a little bit about how we can get more information in regards to this series.
Perfect. Well, All She Wrote Toronto is going to be exclusively on Bell Local. You can find out more information on my website, which is idalinaleandro.com, or allshewrotedoc.com. Also on the Twitter, it's ASW Doc. And I'll be posting stuff on my Facebook as well, a film company 12, and there you can find out more information that way.
Okay. Thank you so much, Idalina, and please talk to us again for any upcoming projects, of course.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.